Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Today I'm going to talk about my time and experience going to go see the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. I appreciate you tuning in. Now, this was part of a trip, a weekend trip that I did. My dad went with me. Another friend of ours came as well. We actually caught three games in the span of one weekend. Uh, the first two games, which are on other podcasts, one was the Stanford Cardinal, and the other game was the California Golden Bears. Again, the experiences with those games are on another podcast. For this podcast, I'm going to talk about my experience with the San Francisco 49ers, who were playing the Arizona Cardinals that day. A division rival, division game, that's always exciting. Get to see two teams battling out for the division, even though it's earlier in the year, but still, it was nice to be a part of. So, yeah, we went to San Francisco for the weekend, got to experience a little bit of the city. And the 49ers don't actually play in San Francisco. As I mentioned, they play in Santa Clara. I think they used to at their old stadium, but now that they're in Levi Stadium, it's a little bit more southeast of the city of San Francisco. Still not too far. I guess it's still the San Francisco vicinity. Similar to like when the Lions used to play at the Pontiac Silverdome, wasn't exactly in Detroit. They were still considered the Detroit Lions. They weren't too far away from Detroit. I guess that's kind of the same thing with the San Francisco 49ers. Same with the Jets and the Giants. Well, I got to talk about them in another podcast as well. They play in New Jersey. They don't even play in the state of New York. They play in New Jersey, in East Rutherford. Anyways, so we went to San Francisco for the weekend, stayed at a hotel, and we got those three games over the weekend. The hotel that we stayed at was not too bad. It was a Fairfield Inn that we stayed at. They had a nice breakfast in the morning. That was one of the reasons we picked it there. It wasn't just a continental breakfast with muffins and pastries. They actually had hot food too, including like scrambled eggs, um, little spinach quiches. They had sausage and biscuits, that type of thing. So a waffle maker. I always love waffle makers at a hotel at breakfast. I don't know why. I'll eat waffles here. I'll get frozen like Eggo type waffles, or IHOP has waffles. But for whatever reason, pouring that batter into that little I don't even know what you call a waffle maker thing, putting it on, turning it over, and it makes the waffles. I just love that for whatever reason. If a hotel has that, I'm pretty excited, which this one did. So we stayed there. So it was Sunday that we actually flew in Friday, saw those two games on Saturday, and then Sunday was just the one football game. And we got up. Now Saturday was a very long night. The game that we saw the night before was Cal. They were playing Miami, and it was a night game for them. So 7:30 ish, Pacific time, which is like 10:30 Eastern time. And then we got back late, so there was no rush to get up in the morning. Thank goodness. The game that we were going to was starting at around 1 o'clock Pacific time. Um, which meant we didn't have to like get up and immediately get dressed and go. The stadium wasn't that far from where we were staying at, so we were kind of our hotel was kind of halfway between where San Francisco, the city, is, and even the airport not far from there to Santa Clara. We weren't far from the airport. It was kind of a midway point. So it took us maybe about 20 minutes to get there, whatever. Not too bad. So we kind of took our time. Actually, got up, ate breakfast, even rested a little bit before we headed out because yesterday kind of the day before took a toll on us a little bit physically. I was a little tired, a long day, late night, that type of thing. But we took our time with it, had breakfast, and went out there. When we got there, the traffic wasn't horrible. I mean, I've definitely been to some games where traffic is a nightmare. That was not the case, thank goodness. We did get to drive pretty freely. Trying to find parking was a little bit of a challenge, but not horrible either. I would say probably parking is probably one of my least favorite experiences when it comes to going to a game. trying to find a place, especially if you're unfamiliar with the territory, if you're from out of town, you don't know where things are at or what a good deal is or anything. Um, so it's not pleasant. Not to mention all you're doing is parking a car and you got to pay an arm and a leg to do it. And the NFL, of course, is gonna, that's gonna demand some dollars. So we saw a sign that said one of the spots said $50. Okay, cool. We see the sign, but as we're driving, couldn't find it. We kept seeing things that were higher, $60. What about that one over there? That one was $70. What about that one over there? $80. And they're all kind of within the same amount of distance. A lot of times with parking, the closer you get, the more expensive it is. These were all kind of around the same distance, and yet it kept going higher. Like, where is this $50 parking that we saw? So we ended up turning around, went back, made a made another turn, and then we started seeing the $50 parking. They were kind of like in these little, like where businesses, have their buildings, and they were just renting out their parking spaces. So, I got to think that that's a pretty good little income for if you have a business around a stadium and you rent out your parking spot for $50 and you have however many. That's a good little chunk of change. So we parked there and just ended up walking. From there to the stadium, I would say maybe a mile ish, something to that effect. Maybe not even that. I don't know. Didn't, but I don't mind walking, so for me it wasn't too bad. They did have these guys that were on like bicycles with almost like a cart behind them, and I couldn't help but think of the Seinfeld episode with the rickshaws. If you like Seinfeld, I don't know, but they would be willing to take people for 25 bucks a person. I think their fee was. I don't mind walking, so we just walked it. I think my dad may have considered it. I think it was kind of tempted to him because I think he was still tired from yesterday. But we ended up just walking it over there. So if it was a mile, I don't know, maybe less than a mile, whatever it was. We go, we walk down, and eventually we do hit a big crowd, and they're stopping people because they're stopping traffic. So sometimes they're letting cars go through, and then they stop the cars, let the people go through, and we're kind of all hurting our way into it. And while we were out there, they had some guys, some vendors that had San Francisco 49 paraphernalia. Um, I have a friend locally that is a 49ers fan, and he actually let me borrow the shirt for the game and for the podcast. But because he's such a big diehard 49ers fan, he wanted a shirt from the stadium. He wanted like a gift. Apparently, he told me, but apparently he told the friend that was with me as well. Um, and so he ended up cash apping my other friend the money to buy something for him. Okay, cool. While we're out there, and we see these vendors outside with their paraphernalia that they were selling. Decided to take a look, but there was nothing that he ended up buying for him. So figured we'll go inside the stadium. That's where he kind of wanted it anyway. So we're part of this mass herd of people just funneling our way up to the stadium. You can see it from a distance. Took some pictures of it. As we got closer, took a few more. And they had a few signs on there too. One was called Faithful to the Bay, something to that effect. I thought that was kind of interesting. I saw that a few times, and then I saw the word faithful a little bit later on. And then coming back after the game, I overheard some lady saying this is called the Faithful Mile, or the Faithful Walk Back, something to that effect. So I don't know what the connection is. I'm sure there's something out there that explains why they use the word faithful. I'm sure it originates for something. If you're a 49ers fan, listen to this and please let me know because I'm not entirely sure. That was unique though. But as we're walking up, I see, Levi Stadium, the actual stadium. I see the sign for the stadium itself, Faithful to the Bay. So it was kind of cool. And I thought it was neat to be able to go because the 49ers are an NFL iconic team. They've won a lot of Super Bowls in the past. They've been to the Super Bowl recently as well. They just haven't won it. So it was kind of cool to be able to see, an iconic NFL team. Not at their original stadium, of course. I think they used to play, was it Candlestick Park? Or is that where the Giants used to play? Or maybe the Shader Stadium. I'd have to do my research on that one. But I do remember Candlestick Park was a stadium in San Francisco, and whether or not that's where they played before this, it's slipping my mind. Anywho, so we're gonna, we saw Levi Stadium. Stadium itself was, cool. It's an NFL stadium, big, loud. Always appreciate that. Not completely encapsulated with people, so which is kind of the way we were coming in. There was two openings on the corner, I guess you could say, that didn't have people in those corners. So I thought, I'll be honest, I thought that was one of the end zones because usually in a stadium, if you see kind of like openness on a corner, usually that's an end zone. But that actually was one of the sidelines. It was actually San Francisco's sideline. So if you're San Francisco and you're on your bench looking out to the field, you got the two corners behind you. And for them, I think it was nice because they were in the shade, uh, which was very helpful for them probably. This weekend was that weekend was extremely hot. I'll get to that. So we go into we're going through the parking lot, get in. They had some vendors out there selling food, selling drinks. I was looking to get some water, some Gatorade, but they had ran out of water. They didn't have any Gatorade. They had pop, and I forgot what else they had, but I and of course there's alcohol. You can buy alcohol everywhere too, beer and all kinds of things. Which hot days and alcohol, it sounds refreshing, but I know that it can kind of not be always the greatest combination. So I passed on the alcohol. I was just really looking for some water, which we eventually did get. We drank a lot of water over the weekend. We got it a lot of times, and it's not like water at a ball game is a couple bucks. They're usually 5, 6 something dollars a bottle, but it was kind of worth it. Um, and we got in there, uh, and we got in. When we got in, we went to the left, and there was a nice little area there that they had. Oh, of course, there was a lot of people funneling in as the game hadn't quite started, but you could hear, announcers, and you could hear them with their pregame show. So it was coming. But they had some things like a statue, I believe it was. I think it may have been Joe Montana. They had these gloves that you put it together and had the San Francisco 49er thing. It was like a statue of that. So they had some things, and they had the team store. Well, I'm on my way to the seat. My dad was, following, but my friend who had, you know, my other friend gave him the money to buy him a shirt, decided he wanted to go do that now and get that out of the way. So he went to their team store, and I just told him where we were sitting. He would come meet us. So he went his separate. We went our separate ways. Went up an escalator. There was like an open area where you could see into the field, and then on the right side you've got the sideline, and to the left you're going to start going into the end zone. So we went up from there, walked around. So we were on the other side, kind of a little bit between the end zone and between the sideline of the visiting team. So somewhat on the corner, but not quite on the corner. Uh, if I have to get an end zone view, I'll do it, but I'd rather be a little bit more towards the center. Um, I don't know, just see the field a little bit better that way. And that's where we were at. We got there. We could still hear the pregame, and I really thought that they were gonna be kicking off while we were on our way there. Thankfully, thankfully, we got to our seats just as it was about to kick off. So I didn't have to miss anything, which that happens a lot. You go into a game and either get stuck in parking or whatever, things happen, and you end up finding yourself being delayed and get into the game late. Yeah, not the end of the world, but I prefer to be there at the opening part of the game. I bought the ticket, right? So I want to be there from start to finish at all, if at all possible. I want to see the game. So we got there, and it was right in time for kickoff. Super hot day, as I mentioned, and I was looking around. I didn't see a whole lot of people there. I saw, I mean, it wasn't like it was completely empty, but I felt like it was more like half full. And that was very peculiar to me. 49ers, an iconic team. They went to the Super Bowl last year. So I'm recording, this is 2024, by the way. I don't know when you're listening to this, but back in 2023, they went to the Super Bowl. I guess it's technically it was 2024. It was 23-24 season that they went. So you think, okay, they should have a sold out crowd and everyone be there, but they weren't. Now, granted, I was thinking about it. They didn't have exactly the best record going on in the world. No, wait, no, I think they did. Okay, what were they? Maybe were they 3-1? I can't remember what their record was. I want to say I don't know. Anyways, maybe they didn't have the hottest start to the season, and it was it was very hot out. So I think the combination of maybe just the way the team started plus the weather maybe impacted the crowd, and not everyone was there. It was I felt like it was more like half full. I actually looked around just in our area and I saw some empty seats. Um, yeah, it is what it is. Anyways, game starts, and to start the scoring, Arizona Cardinals, their quarterback Kyler Murray, who can be a decent runner, he ended up starting the scoring in the first quarter with a 50-yard touchdown run to make it 7-0. And it's like, okay, we'll see what happens here with that. And by the end of the half, San Francisco had come back. They had kicked a field goal, then got a touchdown. Arizona tied it with their own field goal. And then San Francisco had another field goal and a touchdown and another field goal. So they were up 23 to 10 at halftime. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, San Francisco's got momentum and they're doing pretty well. They're stopping Arizona. This could turn into a blowout. We'll see what happens though. Second half adjustments, I guess. Uh, Arizona in the third quarter kicked a field goal again just to make it 23-13. Still a 10-point lead, two-score game for San Francisco going into the fourth. But Arizona did end up scoring a touchdown and a two-point conversion to get the game within 2 points. There was some turnovers that San Francisco committed that didn't help as well, and Arizona found themselves with only less than a couple minutes left kicking a field goal for a 24-23 lead and holding on to win the game 24-23. It was the second day in a row we saw the home team blow a double digit lead in the second half to lose. And this one was just by a point. And this is the second time I've seen San Francisco lose on a field goal late in the game, too. I'd seen them once in Seattle. I'll talk about this in another podcast when I talk about my experience with the Seattle Seahawks. But they had played the San Francisco 49ers and beat them in a last second field goal. So there's two times that I've seen the 49ers. Both times results in a 49ers loss with it, in the last, minute. Oh well, what can you do? I'm not a 49ers fan myself. I rooted for them that game just because that's what I do. When I go to a game, I'll root for the home team. So I was a 49er fan for a day, and they didn't win. In fact, every home team that we saw that weekend ended up losing, including the 49ers. It is what it is. So the 49ers lost. And it was still a good, I mean, but I appreciate the game and the fact that Arizona came back and made it a game. It could have been a blowout. I was thinking it was going to be a blowout, but it ended up not being a blowout. So yay for that. It's nice to see like a tight game and coming down to the end. And now, of course, at the time, um, maybe it would have been a little different. San Francisco was without Christian McCaffrey, and he's, a big star for them. That could have helped. Whether or not it would have made a difference or not, who knows? I don't know. Probably. I mean, he's a good player. He's a really good player. Yeah, but either way, 49ers lost that game. Arizona won it 24-23. I mentioned how hot it was that day. Now, my dad, he kept checking his phone, it just kept going up and up and up. And the highest that we had seen at one point was 104 degrees. It's so hot. Now, where I live here in Michigan, since we're surrounded by lakes, it's very humid here. San Francisco is by the coast, so you'd think maybe because they're not far from the water, it would be humid, but it wasn't really that humid. Not that I noticed. I didn't feel like I was necessarily uh, dripping with sweat or feel soaked or anything because that's what humidity does. I guess it felt more like the dry heat. which is still heat. My dad had a big hat on. My friend had a hat on. I didn't wear a hat. I don't think I look good in hats. There's times I'm tempted to get a hat to wear for the podcasts in addition, or in either or with the t-shirt. But I don't know. I don't feel like I look good in hats, so I don't wear them. I had sunglasses on. We put some sunscreen on, but I still got kind of red around the face. It was just us in the sun. No, hardly any clouds there. And I was very surprised about that too because it's Northern California. Northern California, I was anticipating that it was going to be cooler weather, but I it was very similar to Southern California. Like Southern California's got the mountains and hills, looks very pretty, it's very hot. Um, that's what I felt like. I was in Northern California. I felt it was like I felt like I was in SoCal. The temperature was very hot, and I looked around, and I mean, pretty scenery. There's mountains around it, or hills, whatever they are. I think they're mountains, but yeah, I just that the demographic, it just seemed like I was in Southern California, which is where my wife is from, by the way. That's how I know about it. We visited many times. Um, so I felt like I was in Southern California, but I was actually in Northern California. And it was nice though. I mean, it was still had a good time. Um, and if you're a football fan, definitely go to it. I'll help you out with it. Contact me at j.paradise.travels@gmail.com or reach out to me through Instagram or Facebook at Jay's Paradise Travels. I'd be happy to help you out if you'd like to go see the 49ers. One thing that was kind of cool, as I mentioned, the stadium, they had, the two corners, but it was on the sideline, not necessarily the end zone. I thought that was kind of a little cool, unique design for Levi Stadium. But I thought it was also cool that it was Patrick Willis. He had got, I think he got inducted to like either the Hall of Fame for the NFL or for their own Hall of Fame. I want to say it was the NFL, but he was there and they honored him. He came out during halftime. They rolled out this like red carpet for him, which I thought was kind of cool. And he came, made a little, speech. They showed highlights of him. He was a good linebacker, and definitely was. I thought it was pretty cool to be there for that. Yeah, they honored him. I know, and I want to say they maybe even retired his number. I thought that's what I saw them doing, putting it up on you know the press box. Because on the press box they had different numbers and their Super Bowls. So I thought maybe they put his as well. I don't know. I was trying to not die from the heat. Although I wasn't completely miserable or anything like that. I actually, you know, was okay. We drank a lot of water. That helped. Um, I know my dad was looking for Gatorade, but that he couldn't find it. And I think one of the ones he talked to, I wasn't there when he talked to me. He just told me that one of the guys that he talked to, one of the vendors, they said that they don't have any Gatorade in the stadium. Thought that was interesting. No Gatorade in the stadium. Maybe Maybe they have a contract with a certain company and they just won't allow Gatorade. We saw it, but someone I think may have brought it in, um, which is possible to do, I suppose. Yeah, no Gatorade. That would have been nice. On our way back, we stopped at the vendor that was selling all that paraphernalia. They had some Gatorade and some iced tea, and like Arnold Palmer type of cans. They had those for sale in addition to their paraphernalia. So I got a Gatorade then and chugged that down pretty good. I like water. Water is usually my go-to, and when I was drinking a lot of it, it was helpful. But I guess sometimes at a certain point when you're out in the sun quite a bit and it's real hot, uh, Gatorade, you know, gives you just a little extra with it, whatever electrolytes that they have in it or whatever. I don't know all the ingredients, but sometimes you want a little bit more, and we were able to get it for that. Um, yeah, super hot, but it was nice though. I mean, altogether, I had a good time, um, and I'm glad. Like I said, it's an iconic team, iconic NFL team that's had a lot of championships under their belt. I mean, when I remember growing up, 49ers and the Cowboys. I mean, those were the two like big dogs for a bit there. If it was the 80s or 90s, whatever it was when I was younger. And anytime I play like Tecmo Bowl or Tecmo Super Bowl. They're one, they're one of the big teams, 49ers, Montana and Rice and Steve Young. So, it was cool to be able to go see them. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention about. I think that was kind of everything. Again, seeing another lead though evaporate two games in a row. It's like wow, that's kind of funny. I wasn't hurt by it, but for those who are 49er fans, if you were a 49er fan, if I was, I'd probably be not too happy blowing a lead. Oh, in Arizona, I tell you, they had a little bit of I don't know swag, confidence, cockiness, whatever when they I want to say what was it an interception that they had and the defender. I mean, he ran to one side, ran to the end zone. His teammates were with him, and he's just like, there was a couple times I saw this too. They were just kind of like, uh, what do you call it, jawing at the audience a little bit, or kind of just like, I don't, I don't even know how you describe it. There's a word, and it slipped in my mind the word that I'm thinking of here. What they were doing, taunting. They're taunting the audience. Yeah, taunting the audience. I mean, it's a rival, but I don't know. It's not like Arizona has a ton of history behind their team. In fact, I don't even think they have a winning record, to be honest with you. They may not. I don't know. By the time you hear this, who knows? Maybe by the time you hear this, they've won 5 Super Bowls. I don't know. But at the time of this recording, it's not like they've got this glorious past history like the 49ers. Um, so you'd be taunting the audience because you picked off the ball. But they did win, so I mean, I guess they didn't. I don't recall them doing it after they won the game, but I just remember doing it during the game. I kind of laughed at that. So one of these days maybe I'll go see them play and we'll see what they in Arizona and see what they're like with their fans. Maybe they jump into the crowd like the Packers. Who knows? I don't know. I got a kick out of that. Their little arrogant cockiness of taunting the fans. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. Anyway, so again, nice time. It was good to see. They do play other games there at Levi Stadium, I believe. Well, they used to play the Pac-12 championship there. Whether or not they still will be doing that going forward, it's not the Pac-12. I guess, yeah, they could still be there. And I think they've had some bowl games there too, for if you're a college fan. So there are some other football games that they could play there besides San Francisco 49ers. But it was nice, and because it wasn't in San Francisco, it wasn't exactly like surrounded by skyscrapers and being in the middle of a big city. Um, they're more out. I don't know if it was necessarily residential. There was businesses around them, and right next to them was oh, what was it called? It was like an amusement park, California Great America or Great Adventure, something like that. I saw it. I looked over. I was like, oh, that was cute. I say that because I'm so used to Cedar Point, which is some of the biggest and best rides out there. So when I see something else that not Cedar Point, to me it's like, oh, that's cute. But that I don't want to say it like I'm disrespecting them. I'm sure the rides are fun and that you can have a good time at the park. Um, so yeah, I remember walking by and seeing that. So there was right by there, and there were some other businesses. But yeah, it wasn't like it's in downtown or anything because we did the day before when we were going from one game to the other. We went through San Francisco and we went and we saw where the Giants play, and I think even we didn't see it, but Golden State is in that area too. I think they are a little bit more downtown. And San Francisco 49ers old stadium, I think it was Candlestick. I think used to maybe have been downtown as well. I think I could have swore I saw Stein still see, I saw a sign there that maybe they still have. They didn't get rid of it for Candlestick. Not entirely sure, but either way, their new stadium now is in Santa Clara, and they're not exactly downtown. So you're not surrounded by skyscrapers and all kinds of those type of buildings. You're not in that type of city. Yeah, I guess residential might be the best way to describe it. I mean, it's not in the country either, so whatever you want to call it. Anywho, if you do want to go see it, if you do want to take a trip and go out to see a San Francisco 49ers game. There was a couple that we were sitting next to. He was from Southern California. I think he said he was about 5 hours south from where this was at. That was his first NFL game. Him and his girlfriend. I'm guessing it was her first NFL game too. She didn't really talk. Um, and so they came up to catch their first. At least for him, he caught his first one, and he's a 49er fan. So maybe you want to go see your first 49er game too, or first NFL game, or whatever the case is. Whatever you do, if you do want to go see it, let me know. Once again, Jay's Paradise Travel. There's no apostrophe in that, just Jays. Jay's Paradise Travels on Instagram or Facebook. You can reach out to me, or you can contact me through email at j.paradise_travels@gmail.com. Following the game, I guess I finish the story. So that was the game itself. In the morning it was pretty easy morning, easy like Sunday morning, right? Isn't that the song? We got there. Yeah, I had thought about even on the way there. I thought about going to Ross to pick up a shirt, but I didn't. And I'm glad we didn't because, like I said, we literally got to our seats a minute before kickoff. So I'm kind of glad we didn't stop at Ross. On the way back out, we couldn't get out of that parking lot for like a half hour, half hour to an hour. Again, parking is traffic when it comes to going to a game is my least favorite part. That and paying the prices for it. Um, we were literally just stuck in our spot waiting to go. Eventually, like 30 to 45 minutes later, stuff started moving. We started leaving. And from there, we just decided to go straight back to the airport to drop off the car and get to get to the airport and get to our gates. On the way though, we did stop and we did have some pizza. Oh man, what was the name of the pizza place that we went to? It wasn't too huge. I mean, I don't know if in that area it's a chain or if it's just one store. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, I feel bad now because their pizza actually was really good. It was very tasty. Service was like okay, but the food itself was really good. They had these things called garlic knots, no knots, or something to that effect. They were really good. Um, yeah, the food was really good. We stopped and got pizza on the way back to the airport and had it there. I wish I could think of the name of it now so I could give them a shout out on this. Well, anyways, so we stopped, got some pizza, went to drop off our car. We rented a car from Avis, so we ended up getting a truck, dropped that off, and from there got on the shuttle, tram, not a shuttle, it was more of a tram, and headed to the airport. From there, met a nice lady that was in town from Canada. She was in town for business, but she was at the game too, so that was kind of cool. Um, and then smooth transition to get through security into the airport. They have a nice watering station that you can get to at SFO Airport where you can get hot water or cold water, and that was kind of nice. And we were there kind of early, which again, I'm always fine with getting to an airport early. Not, I'd rather be there early than late. And Dallas and Pittsburgh were playing, but their game was delayed because of weather. So I sat near a bar and kind of watched that as we waited for our flight. Dead tired. By the time, I mean, I was so tired, and we were taking the red eye flight back. So by the time I got onto that flight, it took us a little while to finally taxi out and get into the air. But once I did, well, I was out, and I woke up maybe a couple times, like, hey, do you want something to drink? I heard that, or just kind of turned over. But almost a 4 hour flight going home felt like 10 minutes. I was I was out. I was so tired, and I wake up and we're landing. So, anyways, good times. Had a great time, and it was a nice little guys' weekend. And again, if you, I'll say it one more time before I close out here. If this is something you feel like you want to do and go see the 49ers, go out to San Francisco, go enjoy Fisherman's Wharf, which we did do on this trip as well. Go eat some. I ate one of those clam chowder and a bread bowl things. Oh man, that was so good. Had some good seafood out there. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, like to try it, again, let me know. J.paradise_travels@gmail.com. You can email me. reach out to me that way, or Jay's Paradise Travels on either Instagram or Facebook. There's no apostrophe in that, just JAYS. Reach out to me that way as well. And if you do like this episode or my podcast, please share it with others, subscribe to it, like it, 5-star review, all that good stuff that we as podcasters need to keep going. Helps with the algorithms and getting our name out there. And trying to grow this audience. Would love to continue to see this subscribers grow from a little bit to a lot more. So could definitely use your help with that. So please like, rate, subscribe, and share with others. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.